Probably if you start to watch this video, you like history. You like read historical books, fiction, non-fiction. You like to watch about history. You like to talk about history. And today, because of this book, we will try to understand for what we need history, what we need to know about our roots, for what we need to learn as much as possible about experience of past. I also try to answer the questions, can we trust the history? Can we trust the authors who write some history books? And also we will talk about politics because it's a huge part of history. I will be honest with you, I understood my mistake almost right away when I started only read that book because it seems it's a very great author and he was write all these books and it seems it's amazing books. The American Spirit, Truman, 1776, Great Journey. I understood that my mistake was that first I should read some of his books and afterwards read this book. I think it will be more understandable for me because in general, mostly this book is philosophy, it's about politics, it's how to correct write the books, it's about experience of this author, how he wrote his books, and a lot about patriotism. So my advice for you, don't make the same mistake what I did and first read some other books of this author. Before when we start talk about book by itself, let's learn a little bit biography of this author because I think it will help us. His name is David McCullough, born in 1933, died in 2022. It was only a few years ago at age 89. He studied at Yale University, originally interested in English literature. I think because of this, it's a lot help him in the future to write history books because he already has some experience about how to correct read books, how to correct choose which literature help him more energy and how to correct to write. I think that's a huge advantage he had from his university. 2 times Pulitzer Prize winner for Truman and John Adams, 2 times National Book Award winner, received the Presidential Medal of Freedom, highest civil honor in the US. In the book you can see that it's a lot about politics and it's understandable. Mostly of this book it will be about some political people. So in this book I understood this man because he is true American, simply because it's so much patriotism in this book. It's almost every page about how great USA, how great the government in USA. That at the end of the book, do you want it or you don't want it, you start to believe that you live in the greatest country in the world. In the book it's a lot philosophy. You wouldn't find any clear answer for any your question in this book. Mostly this book is saying how to write good history books, what you need to do for this, about his experience to write historical books, and most important message what author want to tell us: be skeptical of one version of history and always ask who is telling the story. And let's try to answer the first question: for what we need history. History shows us how to behave. History teaches, reinforces what we believe in, what we stand for, and what we ought to be willing to stand up for. History is or should be the bedrock of patriotism, not the chest-pounding kind of patriotism, but the real thing, love of country. And with this I totally agree, because even my father, he always told me how it's important to know your roots, because it's always different between mixed breed dog and purebred dog. So I think it's very important to know your roots, to know to where you belong, to know history of your country, because all of this to help you in the future make some decisions. Also, author talks about lessons from the past, what is can help for the future to understand how to make great future. I quite disagree with some of them. For example, work hard, nothing come easy way, because people working 10-12 hours, we have railroads, mines, mills, homes, and other stuff. And I'm extremely thankful for these people who worked very hard, 10-12 hours. with a small wage, but I think that the time is changed already. And right, we need to work, but not so much and not so hard. My personal experience, because I seen how people work in America and I seen how people work in Europe. And in America, they continue work very hard. Compared with Europe, because when I worked in Europe, my schedule was from 10 to 4 and 1 hour for lunch. Worked like this in Europe, and still they're happy, they have everything what they need. In America, it's a little bit different, and after just continue work so hard because we have in the history so much stuff because people worked hard. Another with what I disagree, nor should we expect our politicians to solve our problems. I agree that politicians people can solve all our problems. Every person in the country matters. And we see so many riots when people became angry, they collect their power all together. They really change history. It's many experience we've seen in America, in France, in England, in other many countries where it's happened. So we have some power also. But I'm disagree with this. Well, because mostly powers has politicians. And if you look for a situation what's going on now in America, it's everything very sad. And mostly what it would be in the history right about our presence, that politicians make a decision for us. I just want that you a little bit understand how much patriotic this book, but I think in some way it's even too much if it can be too much of patriotism in every country. What we've excelled at for a very long time is making things, building, solving problems, and educating our children. Our creative vitality has been an example for the world. We make movies, music, medicines, trucks, toys, airplanes, paint, plate, glass, and computers as does no one. We publish books, design, and manufacture clothes as does no one. Our creative energy and output should also be noted. We are the people who built the Panama Channel and the Golden Gate Bridge, the Mount Wilson Observatory, the Library of Congress, Lincoln Center. We invented jazz and the General Hospital. Our public schools and great universities have long been considered the best in the world. We are what we do. The test will be in what we value, what we want. And I read only a few sentences for you, and you can understand that mostly like this is whole book. So if you feel lack of patriotism, welcome to read this book, and you would be much more appreciate country where you born and where you live. And again, right, you kind of agree and kind of disagree with this. I'm actually mostly for that it would be very strong propaganda in every country, because I think then more patriotic people in the country, then it would be better for the country, because no matter what, you would be all together work for the best of your country. If you will all love your country and work together for your country, so no matter what, the country is supposed to be bigger, greater, and richer. Also, author talk about Thomas Eakins. He's famous artist. I never heard about him, but he makes portraits of many famous people. And of course, the most famous portrait of Eakins' small study of his wife, a picture measuring only 16 by 20 inches. Abram Lerner, the founding director of the Hirshhorn Museum in Washington, says it ranks with the most penetrating psychological portraits of all time. If the Hirshhorn Museum were ever on fire and he could rescue just one painting, says Lerner, that of Susan McDowell, Eakins would be it. So after this, I extremely want to go to Washington to the Hirshhorn Museum and see what is about this portrait. And here Arthur also talk about President Truman. It was a war with Java about atomic bomb. I quite disagree with him here also, so let's first read. He dropped the atomic bomb on Japan to end the war. Was it right? Was it wrong? I think he saw it as necessary. It is so very important to understand the atmosphere of the moment, the atmosphere in which the decision was made. We were at war. Moreover, we were suffering increasingly heavier casualties the closer we came to Japan. In Europe, we had just endured horrendous losses at the hands of the supposedly defeated German army. There were 80,000 American casualties at the Battle of the Bulge, one of the most costly battles ever fought by Americans. Decision about atomic bomb in Japan, it was a very huge tragedy, I think, for the Earth, right, for our planet, and also for the Japan, of course. And could it be different? We don't know, right? Because we haven't been there. Don't know exactly. And in that moment, probably it was the best decision because in Europe we lose plenty of American soldiers, and it is true. And maybe in some way it was a good decision. We don't know, but don't judge. It's easy to say when power on your side, right? No one judges the winners. And who usually writes the history? It's winners. So let's follow advice of the author and try to be critical and understand all history what we read supposed to be judged. And maybe some decision it was really right, some decision was wrong, but we should always remember that history wrote by winners. Finally, the part of the book what I really like, because I think actually to write some book, I don't quite know what it would be, but I want to write a book. So who is with me? And think that one day they will write some great book. Let's look for some advice from the professional. And some of them actually will surprise you. Okay, so let's start. Tell others what you are working on. You never know from whence or from whom the trunk in the attic full of history's treasures will come. And that's actually interesting. Okay, he wants to talk about historical books, but I think it doesn't matter which book. It's anyway, if you will talk about this book with others, probably others will give you some ideas what you never even thought, right? So actually that's interesting advice. Do research as you write, not just before you write. Do research from the beginning to the end, and then you might even want to keep researching after you're done. So with historical, right, you need all researchers to write away. Go where things happen and walk the walk. Go to the Kentucky coal town or the boulevards of Paris if that's what is needed. If you are writing about jungles of Panama, go there. Well, because he wrote some books about Panama Channel, so of course he included this spot here too. And I think that is a great plan, actually, especially if you have money for this. Especially if you decided to write some book about Switzerland, would be pretty nice when there and live some time that more understand Switzerland, right? Next, what he advised, take drawing lessons, try painting. It will teach you how to look at things as you never have. Learn to observe closely and then take time to think about it. And that surprised me because I never thought about drawing lessons, because I know that you need to practice to write, right? You can start from the short stories and afterwards longer, and write about your ideas, what do you want to write. But here is actually interesting that take drawing lessons, try painting, learn to observe closely. And again, it's helped me because I like painting. So I'm already on my way to write the book. And read a lot. Don't just read what others have written. Read what they read too. This is particularly important when trying to understand or portray life in a time very different from our own. And that's another what I kind of like. So don't read only books what you like, but also read books what is other authors what you like read. Of course, it's like what information you get, it create your creativity, it create your critic thinking. I guess change a lot in you, right? One of the most obvious difference between writing history and fiction is the inability to create dialogue. When writing history, you can invent what people said. You have to go find what they said in letters, diaries, court testimony, and so forth. And there's plenty to be found. The job is to bring historical characters to life. Your subject were a real human being. After all, show their strength, their failing. And remember, you are writing about people who didn't know how things would turn out any more than we do. I think if you write historical fiction, you need to make a lot of research also, right? And I know some historical fiction, what I really like, and one is about Blake. I did before on my channel a review of that book, and I know that after that book, she went to England, to this certain village, to learn more about this, to talk with people in that village. So she did a great job, and you can see it in her book. So non-fiction book, fiction book, I think it always depends on the author, how much author want to be accurate. You always have choice what to read, and you also can find some books, and it would be like fiction, but it would be very accurate to what happened before. You will enjoy to read it, and at the same time you will learn a lot. So I don't see so much difference between fiction and non-fiction. I think it depends which fiction and which is non-fiction book you choose. Well, next in this book, it's about list of the favorite books of the author. So if you're interested, I think you can find it in the internet also. And most of the chapters of this book is political people. It's some important people in the history, but I don't think it's right to talk about them, because most all information you can find on internet about them, or you already know it. So it's just a little bit information about them. What is most of us we already know. We know already these people. Probably we heard about them already many times. So let's make conclusion already and talk about lessons what we learn from this book. History helps us more understand the present. People in the history was real humans, not just a name. Ignoring history can be dangerous for society. I think we can see it right now that it is dangerous, but unfortunately, since that people can't learn anything from the past, at least good that we have some idea about past, and maybe it will help us with a present, and maybe we will even have future. So you see how I'm optimistic about future. Are you optimistic the same like me? I know left your comments, and what do you think about this book? I'm very thankful that you watched my video, so let me know. Have you read this book? Do you like it? Or you like me, skeptical and regret that I bought this book? I think I just like this man in the cover, and I like this about history. I kind of like history. It was my mistake. I did enjoy this book. Author who teach others how to write the book, who wrote so many famous books. And this book is not story, it's more essay. And it seems like without any emotions, without anything, it's kind of boring with a lot of patriotism. Thank you that you watched my video, and see you on my next video.